The news arrived like a sudden squall on a seemingly calm sea. One moment, the British public was going about its day, perhaps idly speculating on the next royal engagement or the cut of Kate Middleton's latest dress. The next, a terse, almost clinical statement from Buckingham Palace sent shockwaves rippling across the nation and beyond. Prince William, the future king, the steady hand, the very embodiment of modern monarchy, was facing an extraordinarily challenging and intimate time. The vagueness of the announcement was perhaps its most potent weapon. It left the public suspended in a state of anxious uncertainty, a vacuum quickly filled by rumor, speculation, and a collective holding of breath. What could possibly be so grave, so personal, that the palace, usually so adept at controlling the narrative, would resort to such a carefully worded, yet ultimately uninformative declaration? The immediate reaction was predictably one of disbelief. Prince William, after all, has always projected an image of unwavering strength. He has weathered public scrutiny since childhood, navigated the tragic loss of his mother, Princess Diana, with remarkable poise, and seamlessly transitioned into his role as a devoted husband, father, and heir to the throne. He is the rock upon which the future of the monarchy is seemingly built. To imagine him vulnerable, grappling with an unseen crisis, felt almost unnatural. Social media erupted, a digital cacophony of concern and conjecture. Tragic. Unbelievable. What's happened? Millions of tweets and posts echoed the same sentiment, a desperate plea for clarity, a yearning to understand the source of this sudden royal tremor. The online world became a virtual vigil, a collective space for sharing memories of William's past triumphs, his unwavering commitment to duty, his seemingly effortless charm. The images flooded back. The young boy walking behind his mother's coffin, his face etched with grief, the dashing young officer in his military uniform, a picture of quiet confidence. The beaming father cradling his newborn son, Prince George. These were the moments that had defined him, the milestones that had cemented his place in the hearts of the British public. How could this man, so seemingly invincible, be brought to his knees? The atmosphere outside Buckingham Palace mirrored the digital outpouring of emotion. Crowds began to gather, drawn to the iconic gates as if by an invisible force. Some stood in silence, heads bowed in quiet contemplation. Others laid bouquets of flowers, handwritten notes tucked amongst the petals, small tokens of support for a man they had watched grow up in the relentless glare of the public spotlight. There was no fanfare, no grand display of mourning, just a quiet, almost reverent sense of shared sadness. Inside the palace walls, the mood was reportedly somber, almost oppressive. Staff members moved with a hushed urgency, their faces etched with concern, the usual. Routines and protocols were temporarily suspended, replaced by a sense of heightened anxiety and a desperate need to maintain control. The weight of the situation hung heavy in the air, a stark reminder of the fragility of even the most powerful institutions. The focus, according to sources, was on protecting Prince William and his family, shielding them from the voracious appetite of the media and allowing them the space and privacy they so desperately needed. Close friends and confidants rallied around, offering support and understanding. This was, by all accounts, one of the most challenging moments the royal family had faced in recent years. A crisis that threatened to shake the very foundations of the monarchy. The official confirmation, when it finally arrived, felt less like a revelation and more like a confirmation of everyone's worst fears. The palace, in its infinite wisdom, chose language that was both stilted and strangely raw. Something profoundly intimate was occurring, they said, urging privacy as the family huddled together. No matter how carefully crafted, the ache was palpable. The news cycle, already in overdrive, kicked into hyperdrive. Television broadcasts preempted regular programming. News websites became digital front lines, battling for clicks and credibility. Social media, a swirling vortex of speculation, verged on complete meltdown. The collective gasp of a nation echoed across the internet. After a period of relative calm, The royals had emerged, and everyone wished it were for a happier reason. The timing, of course, couldn't have been worse. A sense of normalcy had tentatively returned to the UK after what felt like an unending string of public events. Then, out of the blue, this. Even seasoned royal correspondents, those grizzled veterans of palace intrigue, admitted they were caught completely off guard. Cameras swung back to Buckingham Palace, those imposing iron gates standing sentinel against a dreary London sky. The image perfectly captured the mood. A nation holding its breath, a reflection of the anxiety gripping the UK. Beneath the carefully chosen words, a stark truth resided. Something significant had transpired, something that threatened to destabilize the monarchy itself. For a family renowned for its adherence to tradition and its carefully cultivated image of composure, the use of phrases like profoundly intimate and challenging was unprecedented. These were not the words of Buckingham Palace. These were whispers of genuine human anguish, veiled in regal formality, just enough to convey the depth of the crisis without giving away the farm. Inside the palace, the atmosphere was thick enough to cut with a knife. Staff moved like shadows, their voices hushed, their faces etched with worry. Even those who had served the royal family for decades seemed shaken. The decision to go public, it was later revealed, had followed days of intense deliberation among senior advisors. Ultimately, William, it seemed, had insisted on a degree of transparency, even if it meant exposing himself to further scrutiny. As the news spread, a tidal wave of support poured in from across the Commonwealth and beyond. Politicians, celebrities, ordinary citizens all offered their condolences, praising William's years of dedicated service. Prayers were said, regardless of religious affiliation. Everyone, it seemed, understood that even those born into privilege are not immune to life's cruelest blows. In pubs and living rooms across the country, conversations quieted. People shared their memories of Prince William, the little boy walking behind his mother's coffin, the confident young man who had grown into his role, the doting father who beamed with pride at his children. To connect him with such pain felt deeply personal, as if a piece of their own history had been shattered. Words like terrible and out of nowhere dominated the news. The royal family, so often perceived as a symbol of unwavering strength, was suddenly vulnerable. The situation underscored a fundamental truth. Beneath the crowns and the titles, they are just like us. Hearts break, families struggle. They had asked for space, and for the most part, they received it. But a sense of unease lingered, a collective hope that from this dark chapter, something brighter, something more authentic would eventually emerge. The shattering moment rippled outward, an expanding circle of shock and anguish. William's name trended globally, uniting millions in a shared sense of sorrow. For so many, he was a constant, a source of strength in turbulent times. Now, he faced a challenge that caught everyone off guard. Social media transformed into a digital wailing wall almost instantly. Thousands poured out their grief and affection, expressing disbelief from London to New York, Sydney to Toronto. Timelines filled with old photographs, William smiling alongside Kate and their children, radiating warmth. The same heartfelt message echoed across platforms. I just can't believe this. For a brief moment, the usual squabbles over politics and celebrity gossip faded away. A collective mourning took hold, each scroll revealing a shared hope. Hang in there, Wills. High-profile figures, prime ministers, spiritual leaders swiftly issued statements of support. They lauded William's dedication over the years, acknowledging the good he had done. Even former royals, those who had distanced themselves from the institution, reportedly reached out privately to offer their support. In the physical world, crowds continued to mass outside royal residences, not driven by morbid curiosity, but by genuine compassion. At Buckingham Palace, families huddled together in the rain, some clutching small Union Jacks, leaving flowers and handwritten cards at the gates bearing messages like, "We're with you, or you can get through this." In Windsor, the usual tourist bustle subsided, as if the town itself was taking a moment to breathe. News. Crews documented this unique outpouring of sentiment, capturing the intimate connection so many felt to the prince. William represented a vision of a progressive future, centered on family and compassion. To see him struggling felt like a violation, a stark reminder that even those in positions of power are not immune to hardship. People who typically dismissed royal news stopped to pay attention. Teachers paused their lessons to address students' difficult questions. Co-workers huddled around screens, seeking updates. On public transportation, strangers exchanged knowing glances, acknowledging a shared pain. This ache seemed to envelop everyone, both public and deeply personal, like the loss of a neighbor. As dusk settled, the royal gates glowed with candlelight, pathways carpeted with flowers. Notes fluttered in the breeze, carrying silent vows of support. The situation hurt, but it also brought people closer. A moment of solidarity that transcended backgrounds and differences across the UK and beyond. Standing together, united by a common humanity. In the end, this experience reminded everyone that even in the darkest of times, human connection triumphs, burning brightly through the shadows and offering the assurance that we will get through this together. A prince under pressure, William had lived much of his life under intense scrutiny. The weight of the British crown heavy on his shoulders. From a young age, his every move had been dissected and analyzed. While he often appeared calm and in control, he carried a considerable burden. Being the heir apparent wasn't all glittering tiaras and grand estates. It came with relentless obligations and expectations. Recently, whispers had circulated that he seemed more weary than usual. He had been undertaking fewer public engagements, and there was a sense that something was amiss. What some initially dismissed as mere exhaustion now appeared to be symptomatic of deeper issues. He was, it seemed, struggling to balance his royal responsibilities with his desire for a normal family life. This equilibrium was proving difficult as he sought to protect his loved ones while maintaining the dignified image expected of a future king. Kate, his wife, had reportedly witnessed the strain he was under and had encouraged him to prioritize his own well-being and the needs of their children. The royal mantra had always been to maintain appearances, but it was becoming increasingly clear that William was feeling the pressure. For the first time, perhaps, the public glimpsed him not as a symbol, but as a man, grappling with the impossible demands of his position and his yearning for a more ordinary existence. This moment served as a poignant reminder that even those in the highest echelons of power are susceptible to feeling overwhelmed. At Kensington Palace, a family rallied together. The news regarding William had undoubtedly shaken them, but those closest to him knew that this had been a growing struggle. Kate Middleton stood firm at the center of it all, supporting her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, shielding them from the media frenzy, and striving to maintain a sense of normalcy in their lives. Kate, ever graceful and composed, seamlessly blended her roles as mother and royal, providing comfort through bedtime stories and loving embraces. Her strength emanated from her deep affection for William and their shared commitment to their family. The atmosphere within the palace walls had become one of quiet compassion, with family members checking in and offering unwavering support. This was not simply a matter of royal duty. It was a shared heartache that drew them closer. Kate served as a rock for her family during this difficult time, facing the challenges not just as royals, but as a united and loving family. The palace, despite the turmoil, resonated with the warmth and vibrancy of family life, demonstrating their resilience in the face of adversity.